All right. Hello, everybody. I'll give it a few more minutes for some more people to trickle on in. But for everyone watching right now, how's it going? Let me know where you're tuning in from. Today, we're going to do a live Q&A session and basically just answer all of your questions about selling on Amazon or anything else that's on your mind at the moment. So, in the meantime, let me know where you're tuning in from. And if you haven't been to one of these live Q&As before, basically, I'm going to start with some pre-submitted questions first, and then we'll switch over to your live questions shortly after. But the pre-submitted questions will only take a few minutes or so. Hey, Zach, welcome to today's live stream. Also, if you can give me a little more context, Zach, awesome, from the UK, great. I'm curious, where are you guys, what business model are you guys thinking about starting or are currently doing? Are you into private label, wholesale, dropshipping, arbitrage? Especially when you're asking your questions live, it's really good to know what business model you're referring to because the answers can differ quite drastically depending on your model. So, yeah, curious. We got Orlando, Morocco. Hello. Shafir and AC. We got California in the house. Very nice. We're spanning the globe right now. Very cool. What time is it in Morocco? I'm curious because I think last week we had somebody from, was it Pakistan or somewhere else, but it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I thought that was amazing that, you stayed up for this. So, thanks, Yami from Miami, Term from Florida. Okay. Just getting started. Private label. We got FBA and retail, arbitrage. Is that right term? We got wholesale and private label from Yami. Another private label, FBA. All right. Cool. Montreal in the house. All right. Great. Just give it maybe a couple more minutes, and then we'll get started. I'll do another opening, and then we'll kick into these questions. Again, if you guys are joining live now, I know some more people trickled in. We're going to do some pre-submitted questions in the very beginning, and these are questions from last week's live stream, and then we'll shift over to your guys' live questions. But in the meantime, feel free to fill up the chat box with all of your questions. I'm basically going to be favoring the ones that, are questions about selling on Amazon, and then circle back to those shortly after the pre-submitted questions. Yeah, cool. Awesome. We got some private label. Currently doing retail arbitrage, Zach. That's awesome. Okay, Adele. Yeah, if you have any product research questions, feel free to ask away. I'm sure we'll talk about that throughout this video pretty extensively. But if you have anything specific that I can answer, I'd be more than happy to help there. All right, so we'll get started here. I'm going to kick off the video, and then we'll go into our live questions. All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining this week's live Q&A. Today, we're going to answer some pre-submitted questions from last week's video, where down in the comments, we're asking you guys to ask us any type of questions about selling on Amazon, and we're going to answer them for you live here. And then we're also going to answer the live questions shortly after these pre-submitted questions are over. So let's kick it into our very first question, which is it possible to drive sales from TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook to Amazon? This is a really good question because as advertising costs increased on Amazon each year, a lot of sellers are thinking about driving more organic traffic to Amazon because it's free, of course. So there's two ways that you can drive traffic or sales from social media to Amazon. You can do it with paid ads. You can do ads on those platforms like TikTok ads, bringing them to Amazon. You can do Google ads, bringing them to Amazon, and so on. Now, the downside with that is that you're basically reaching shoppers that are doing something other than shopping at that time. So if you're on TikTok, you're there for entertainment. You're swiping, you're trying to laugh, maybe trying to learn. You're not really standing there with your wallet in your hand trying to buy products. So while you do get out in front of a lot of people, the conversion rate or the amount of traffic you can bring over to Amazon and convert into a sale is pretty minimal in comparison to running Amazon ads. Now, the positive side of bringing off Amazon traffic to Amazon is the organic route. So if you're able to build a presence on one of these platforms and you're funneling organic traffic to Amazon, that's one of the best ways to be profitable in 2024 and going forward. Not having to pay Amazon to basically sell a product is priceless. And organic sales are really how most companies now are growing their profitability year over year. So it's a great way of driving traffic to Amazon. Now, the other kind of like thing to bring up here is when you drive traffic to Amazon, using something called an Amazon attribution link, Amazon will actually reward you by essentially like giving you a big discount on the referral fees, which if you're unfamiliar with referral fees on Amazon, they're basically the fee that Amazon charges you for bringing traffic to your listing. So Amazon already has customers and you're lucky enough to sell on their platform. So they're charging you a fee of having that luxury of basically not having to advertise your products. But when you bring that traffic to Amazon, you're doing Amazon a huge favor. So they're willing to cut you a deal and basically give you, I think it's like, you go from like 15% down to like 5 or 10%. I forget the actual reduction that you get, but you save a lot of money doing it. So it is possible to drive sales from social media to Amazon with ads or organically. But either way, however you do it, as long as you have an attribution link, it's very, very profitable. So let me now shift over into our second question here. Our second question is, where can I find good Amazon product photographers? So this is a great question, and actually I can show this for you. Let me log into Seller Central first, but there's basically a few ways that you can find photographers, and I'll actually show you how I found my photographers. So you could do a simple Google search for Amazon product photography. I know it sounds very simple, but it's actually how I found my photographer. I reached out to a few companies that specialize in Amazon product photography. And that to me was really important because I knew that in order to get a click on the search results page, your image had to stand out from the competition. And so I didn't just want to hire a regular photographer that was just going to take a regular photo. I wanted somebody that had Amazon selling experience to realize that I need to differentiate myself from the next product to the left and right of me. And that was very important. So I reached out to Amazon specific product photographers, really just found them on a Google search. There's plenty of them out there. Now, sorry, as trying to log into my account here, I'll show you another way of finding Amazon product photographers, and that's actually within Seller Central itself. So inside Seller Central, let me remember how to do this. I think you go to, is it growth? Yes, growth. And, oh, wait a second. It's been a minute. Apps and services. Yep, apps and services. I think it's Explorer services. Yes, okay, great. And then you pick your country or where you're located. So I'm in the United States. Where you plan on selling? I'm also going to sell in the United States. Where is that at? Oh, right there. Okay. And then what services you need. So right here, imaging is where you can find photographers that Amazon is associating themselves with. So, these for the most part are probably pretty reputable. I wouldn't just trust them because they're in here. I would do your due diligence still. But these are companies that Amazon has worked with or has recommended to their sellers in the past. So you can kind of come through here. Maybe you select one right here. You can contact the provider. You could also just copy them. Maybe they have a website. Hopefully they have a website. Maybe I'd go Amazon product images. Okay, Amazon design, great. And you can contact them that way if you don't want to go through Amazon. I don't think there's any downside of going through Amazon. In fact, I've done it myself as well just to get quotes. I really wouldn't maybe trust these quotes here. These are probably very vague, and your project is going to be different than this just like templated quote they're giving out here. But this is one way of doing it, is using Amazon's own service provider network here. There's some filters over here if you really want to get specific with male photo shoot, it looks like, or female photo shoot, their location. So like if I was selling in the US, I would check this, which is kind of redundant, even though I've selected it up here, but I guess you'd still want to maybe do that just in case. I want to find someone that speaks English, and so on. You could also do these star ratings if you want as well. But yeah, so that is a really good way of finding photographers, is using Seller Central, or like I said, a good old Google search is exactly what I did. So, all right, let's now move over into our third question, which is very similar. How much does it cost to get professional product photos and videos done? This is going to vary widely depending on who you reach out to, and every company is going to be different. There's probably a few companies out there that have just like a base price, and for a white product on a background, it's going to cost $300, $500, whatever the case may be. But I found that prices range drastically, and the better they are, obviously, the more they're going to charge you. I, though, can give you an example is with my product photography, I spent a lot of money. This is a cost that I'm willing to just spend hundreds or thousands of dollars on, because it's the most important thing, I think, in your listing. So I spent around originally $1,000, and then I had some other work done, basically just like adding more images for an extra $500. But they also did my video for me too. It was very basic, but they did a video for me. So for $1,500, I got all my product images done, and that was for 3 variations. Granted, like my variations only differed in size, so basically it was the same image, just kind of different dimensions. And they also did my A+ content, the modules, and then they also did a video for me. That cost me $1,500. Each provider could be totally different, so I'd recommend just getting accurate quotes before, maybe you want to have a budget, I would say, but don't maybe rely on my quote as the only source of truth. But just letting you know what I paid for in the past, $1,500. And again, I don't spare any expense when it comes to photography or even video, so I was more than willing to spend that, and I would even spend more if I had to. Yeah. So we'll move on to our next question here. If I change my product title, do I need to create new UPC labels before sending them to Amazon FBA? Very good question. So this question is interesting because if you aren't aware, when you register a product on Amazon, you need to have a UPC barcode. That UPC barcode has a number, but then it also has like a little title to describe it. Now, you want to be accurate with that title, but if you change your title on Amazon, you don't need to change your title on GS1, which is where you're getting these UPC barcodes. So you're allowed to change your title anywhere, like on Amazon, on your Shopify store, or anywhere else without it affecting your barcode. The only way that barcode needs to be changed is when you actually change the product itself. So it's a totally different product. Then you'd have a whole new UPC barcode, like the numbers, as well as like the title on that barcode. But don't worry about updating that GS1 code, like the title for it, just because you're updating your title on Amazon. Okay. There's a few more pre-submitted questions here before we go to your live questions. And remember, guys, you can fill out the comments or in the chat box. You can add your questions right now, and I'll get to those in just a second after we get through these pre-submitted questions. So this next pre-submitted question is, can I sell private label and wholesale products under the same Amazon account? Yes, you can. In fact, Amazon wants you to do this. They want you to have one account where if you're doing private label, wholesale, drop shipping, arbitrage, whatever the case may be, they want you to have one account. You could do FBA, FBM, you can do basically anything. And Amazon wants you to consolidate all your businesses in that one, assuming it's under the same brand name. If you wanted to have separate brand names, you can still use the same Amazon account. You just have a drop down, and maybe I can show you actually on Amazon here. So you'd have a drop down, like we have Jungle Creations. We're in different countries here, but like how this is this isn't a real account, but this would be a whole new brand if we wanted to have 2 brands under our same Jungle Creations account, like our main account. So, we have a pet brand, but we could also have a sports brand, and it's all under the same account, easy to access, and it's super nice. You don't have to worry about signing up for new accounts and going through that registration process ever again. But yeah. Let's see here. This next pre-submitted question is, can I have my supplier ship inventory to my house before I send it into Amazon FBA? Good question. This is a very popular question amongst people doing wholesale or arbitrage or, mostly those two. Sometimes FBA sellers as well. But yeah, you absolutely can get it sent from your supplier and have that shipped to your house. Maybe you're inspecting it. Maybe you're like kind of adding things to it. You're doing anything that maybe you just want to store it for a little bit. If you want to have all your inventory at your house, you don't want to pay a storage facility to hold all your inventory. You can't do that. Just be aware that it is going to cost you more because you're going to be shipping it. So if you're shipping it now to FBA, you kind of are paying for 2 shipping costs versus 1. So if your supplier is sending it to FBA, that's just 1 shipping cost. If they're sending it to your house and then you're sending it to Amazon, that would obviously be 2 shipping costs. And so that does increase your per unit COGS, your cost of goods sold. So I would keep that in mind, but also if you're fulfilling your orders yourself, it's a great way to minimize your storage cost. Also your fulfillment cost if you're the one doing it. But it is also, I think, sometimes a good idea if you're ordering a small amount of inventory on your first order to get it sent to your house to just manually inspect. You know, we always talk about having an inspection company inspect your manufacturer's warehouse and the products on your first inventory run. But for some people that are trying to bootstrap their product launch, they don't have the funds to hire an inspector for a couple $100. This could be a really cost-effective way of doing that, just getting it sent to your house, eating the shipping cost, which is fine, but then you're expecting your products for the first time and seeing what it looks like. So definitely a viable idea, especially if you're trying to bootstrap the inspection process. Okay, our last pre-submitted question, before we get to your live questions, is if my product gets bad reviews in the first month, can I open a new listing with the same product? You can. I wouldn't though. So I can see how this is an idea that it can occur. So like maybe you really understand that your product is a good product, but for some reason those first like 5 or 10 reviews don't look good. Maybe you used Amazon Vine to get reviews, and those people who do Amazon Vine are very thorough. And so if you have a product that gets delivered to them in a wrong way, or perhaps they just didn't like it in some capacity, then they're going to write a pretty honest review, and for them honest. So if it's negative, that's going to really hurt your sales or your conversion rate, I should say, in the short term. However, when you create a new listing, that needs to be a new product with a new UPC barcode. So you can't just take your product and create a new listing for it, because once you create that new product on Amazon, that UPC barcode is like locked, and it's saying this UPC barcode belongs to this product, and there really should be no duplication of that product. So if you wanted to create a whole new listing, you need to change the UPC barcode. So you basically have to buy another UPC barcode, attach it to your existing product, and essentially you start from scratch again. Which, you know, I personally wouldn't recommend. I would say persevere through those bad reviews. Try to get more positive reviews, and that's really out of your control at this point. If you've done everything you can to make sure the product itself is a great product. Sometimes it could just be a few units were faulty. They didn't look that good. They didn't hold up to the rest of your inventory in the standards that your inventory should have. So I would maybe, if it's a theme, like you're getting a bunch of bad reviews, get the inventory inspected, maybe sent to your house that you can look at it. But otherwise, I would say keep that listing, persevere through the short-term side effects of kind of having a poor converting listing, and plan for the long term, because the alternative of creating a new UPC barcode for your product, while it's only $30 to buy a new barcode, I just don't think it's the best way. You're starting from zero again. I would just persevere and think about the long term and try to just get past it with some more positive reviews, because you'll be surprised how quickly your reviews can go from like a 3-star to a 4.5 or a 4-star, especially if you just have like 10 or 5 reviews. Like you could literally one 5-star review could change your star perception from like a 3 to a 4. So yeah, I would say just stick it out. It is a scary thing though, especially if you're getting those bad reviews really, really early. Okay, so those were all the pre-submitted questions. I'm now going to go into your guys' live questions, and I see you guys have been adding questions, so stick with me here as I kind of try to get through and find the questions here, but I appreciate you guys sticking around for those pre-submitted questions. I'm curious if anybody in here was in those pre-submitted questions. If you're unfamiliar with basically what we're going to do for this next live Q&A next week is start just like we did this time. We're going to go back to this video basically, and in the comment section, we're going to take the questions from there and then use those in the pre-submitted section. And then we're going to answer live questions like I'm about to do now. So it's one of the best ways of getting your questions answered is to leave a comment after the video is over. But awesome. Thank you guys for filling up this chat box here with great questions. I'm going to start with a Jungle Scout related question, I believe. The question is, why am I almost getting all competition score for all the products I do research? So hopefully I understand this question correctly, but is the question when you're doing a search, so like right here, I'm looking for dog agility equipment. I open the extension and the opportunity score is giving me a 3 here. And the reason it's giving me a 3, it's saying there's medium demand and high competition. And the reason it's giving me this score is because of these metrics here. It's basically looking at all 48 products. And for demand, it's looking at the revenue, the sales. For competition, I believe it's mostly looking at the number of ratings and some other math going on there that is, I'm sure, looking at like how strong these sellers are. So the reason it's giving you a 4, and for those who don't know, this is a score based out of 1 through 10, 10 being the better. It's only a guiding mark. Like I wouldn't just open this and then like be, okay, it's bad, and then click out of it and go on to the next product. What I would do is just try to see really what the data is telling me here, and I look at it manually first. So let's do the quick kind of analysis on this niche and see if it actually is a 3, or if I would say it's like a a 5, 4, 10 even. And so what I'm looking for are thresholds, or at least my thresholds that I like to go by is monthly sales. It should be a minimum of 300, and this is obviously well above that. So the medium demand here is interesting to me. Now the high competition, number of reviews here, basically what I like to do is look at the individual reviews for some of these sellers and try to find a few sellers or products that have low reviews and are getting over that 300 monthly sales mark. If I can find quite a few of these like low brands or these like small sellers doing well, to me, that's one of the ways that I like to define competition. And so I would actually change something like a high competition to a medium competition if I found more of those sellers. So let's see if we can find this. In fact, just to speed it up, I'm going to go filter results. I'm going to go minimum monthly units sold 300. And in the reviews, I'm going to maybe go for 150. So now what this is going to do when I click apply is show me all the sellers on this page out of 48 that are hitting 300 monthly sales despite having less than 150 reviews. So out of 48 products, that brings us down to 2. So yeah, that's pretty, maybe that's pretty fair that it was a high competition. I could load more to go past page 1 because surely there'll be more of these smaller brands past page 1. And typically that's what I will do. I'll keep going down the page and just try to load more and load more. But even after I'm on the 3rd page now, once this populates, there's only 3 sellers that are doing an average of 454 sales and at an average of 56 reviews. So, I mean, these sellers are doing it. To me, like, I would still feel confident, perhaps, if I'm going to launch in this niche. I'd want to do a lot more homework. But ideally, I'd see like at least 5 or 10 more sellers on this list. It's not an exact science, but what I like to do is use this opportunity score in the beginning just to like eyeball, but I don't make any brass decisions from it. And so hopefully you're able to do the same there, and hopefully that opportunity score doesn't scare you away from potential good opportunities too much. But very good question. We'll move on to this next question. Very good question. Can I start a successful Amazon business with 5K? Absolutely. You can start a private label business for 5K. You can start a wholesale business for 5K. Arbitrage, drop shipping, of course. Yes, absolutely. If you're starting with 5K, that's enough to buy your first, maybe even 2 rounds of inventory. And depending on your per unit product cost and how much your inventory you're buying, you could have a few $100s left over to get your product photography done. You could have maybe a few $100s left over for getting an LLC or a trademark for your brand, which is typically around like $1,000 depending on who you go with. So, and you don't need that right away. With $5,000, I would say spend it all on inventory and images and videos, and then maybe go get an LLC, which is relatively cheap. I think you could do it for free, or you could pay like LegalZoom for a couple $100 to do it for you. So yeah, absolutely 5K. I mean, you can get started with a lot less. The lower that you start with, the faster you're able to ambush the market, if that makes sense. If you had $100,000, you can buy basically your first 3 rounds of inventory and not ever worry about selling out. And you can put a lot of money into advertising to just really push your product and ambush the market. If you have under $5,000, then maybe you'll just buy your first round of inventory, sell out, which is fine, and then you'll just keep buying more rounds of inventory over time. But eventually, you'll get to a point to where you could order, 2 or 3 rounds of inventory at a time, so you're never selling out. So, yeah, 5K is, I think, more than enough to get started selling on Amazon. Okay, let me try to find more questions here. Hope you guys are enjoying this so far. If so, let us know. Hit the like button down below, and make sure to join us each week for these live Q&As. These are sort of like a new series where we're going live every Thursday around the same time, 11 a.m. Central Time. We're here in Austin, Texas. I always like to see where you guys are from, and it's awesome looking at the chat. Like I now see, probably gonna pronounce it wrong. Sorry if I do, but Fareed from Alaska is here. That's really cool to see everybody all around the world joining in for this. Really appreciate it. Okay. Let's see here. Good question, Term. The question here is, do you recommend your supplier shipping out by sea or air for selling on Amazon for the first time? It's a good question. I think a lot of people have different answers on this. Sea is going to be cheaper. It's also going to be longer. And air is going to be more expensive, but it's going to be quicker. And so there's advantages of both. By sea, it may take 3 months to get in, depending on a lot of factors, like time of the year, your supplier, kind of just like who they're shipping with, like their freight forwarder and everything. I've typically found like 2 to 3.5 months is like the range, but I always just plan for 3 months. Just in my head, I say it's going to take 3 months to get here. If it comes earlier, yay. If not, then okay, I kind of expected that. And that's going to be cheaper, so that'll save you some money and make you a little more profitable on your transactions. Or if you just really want to blitz the market right away and you just, you're okay with spending a little bit more money right away, then air is great. You can get your product in within a month, sometimes within a couple weeks. And like I said, you're just able to get started on Amazon as fast as possible. So I think there's benefits to both. I personally like going sea. I'm okay with waiting for it. I'm in no rush to launch. So that's typically what I like to do, again, just to keep my costs down so I can spend it elsewhere. Or maybe I can spend it on more inventory. But that's just my personal preference there. Good question, though. Okay, yeah, so the master is asking a question about, I believe, maybe like retail arbitrage or wholesale. So the problem is most brands don't allow resellers to sell their products on Amazon. How can we solve this issue? So, yeah, I mean, some brands just won't allow it. I mean, think about it from their perspective. They are probably getting hundreds of inquiries from resellers, specifically on Amazon, every single week, especially the big brands. And they're tired of it because they probably have some wholesale deals with some really big wholesalers, and they're not accepting any more business. So it's like they have a few people they trust to sell their product on Amazon because for whatever reason, they don't want to do it. And they're sort of locked into there. So those are typically like what a lot of big brands will do. Some big brands will sell to anybody. They'll open a wholesale account with anybody. There are definitely a lot of those. But what I like to do in this scenario to solve this issue is to reach out to some smaller brands who aren't selling on Amazon, smaller brands who maybe have a few sellers in the buy box. But smaller brands in general are willing to open a wholesale account with practically anybody, assuming that you either have experience or you're coming off as a professional wholesaler or reseller. So I think the best way of going about this is go and reach out to smaller, medium-sized brands. If the big brands aren't willing to work with you, move on to the next one, because reselling, and especially wholesale, is really a hustle. You have to continuously find new brands and new products to reach out to and to sell on Amazon. So don't waste your time on one trying to get them to work with you if they're just not, communicating back with you or whatever reason willing to open a wholesale account with you. Move on to the next one. And again, maybe try to target those smaller brands. You could also go in with a kind of like a value add to them. So we've talked about this on our YouTube channel quite a lot. So if you go to our YouTube channel and you type in just like wholesale, oops, I literally just typed in whole, but that should work. We have a few videos on this. So we have this Amazon wholesale strategy guide. We have this one with Brian, who works at Jungle Scout on our content team. And then we also have his Wholesale Suppliers Guide. Really, like, these 3 videos are really good videos that will show you sort of like our strategy of reaching out to suppliers, wholesale suppliers, with the idea of you're going to optimize their listing for them. And so it involves trying to find listings on Amazon that need to be improved. And you can go to the supplier and say, hey, your Amazon listing needs an overhaul, and I'm the type of person that can make that better for you. If it gets better, then more people are going to buy on Amazon, which means you're going to get more business from me and other wholesalers as well. So you can kind of add value and make your deal look a little more interesting as well. All right, so let's see. Question here is, what are the required documents to get Amazon brand approval? Can you get it without an LLC? So to get brand registry, you'll need a trademark. So brand registry opens up the door for you to do a lot of cool things on Amazon, but really what it's doing is it's protecting you because you have a trademark. And so the documents that you'll need is a trademark for your brand or for your product, and you need to submit all that paperwork into Amazon. So it's specifically Amazon brand registry you'll reach out to. They'll either ask for your pending trademark or your approved trademark if you have one already, or you can use a program offered by Amazon called the Amazon IP Accelerator. And that's a program that essentially connects you with law firms to get you a trademark. So if you don't have a trademark yet, that is, I think, one of the best ways of getting into brand registry, because you'll get the trademark through these reputable law firms that Amazon trusts. And then they, in the background, will send all your paperwork to Amazon for you to get you into brand registry. So you really don't have to do much other than listen to your law firm that you reach out to and just kind of fill in a few things and do what they ask. But you don't actually need to reach out to Amazon to do anything. Versus if you did get your trademark outside of IP Accelerator program, then you will need to submit that to Amazon brand registry, basically just proving that you have the trademark or it's pending. But that's really all you need, is that proof of pending trademark or trademark. Term, I see your question there. Hopefully I answered that as well with my last answer, that you do need a trademark to get into brand registry, or a pending trademark to get into brand registry. Okay, so yeah, how long does it take for your new product to show up on Amazon after being listed? So once you fill out your listing for the first time, your listing should maybe show up on Amazon, but it might not be available to sale until you have inventory available. So if you're using FBA to fulfill your orders, that listing won't go live until you have inventory sent into Amazon. Once that inventory is first sent in there, then your listing will go active and it will be available for sale. Now, in terms of showing up in the search results, this is totally different. So if you type in your brand name and your product, you should show up on Amazon. But that's not what people are typing in. So you're probably wondering, like, how do I actually show up organically or in the sponsored ad? So organically, it's going to take your product a long time to rank on the keywords that are relevant for your product. The best way of ranking for those keywords is to get sales on those keywords. And that sounds pretty obvious, but that's just how Amazon works. They want to make sure that your product is bought after someone types in the keyword that they're typing in. So I will kind of just visualize this real quick. If I'm typing in dog agility equipment, surely every product on this page has at least got a few sales after a customer has typed in this keyword. Amazon's really smart. They know exactly what people are looking for when they type in anything on Amazon. So it's going to take you some time to get those sales. One of the best ways of speeding up that process of getting reviews on certain keywords is by doing what these first 4 products are doing, and they're running ads. So here you can see there's a product with 0 reviews. They launched just a couple months ago in November of 2023. And they're showing up, they're literally the first result here. A lot of people, like non-sellers, they don't look at this sponsored area here. They just kind of click on whatever's in front of them, and they very may well buy this product. In fact, they have a $30 off coupon. That's crazy for this product, making it a really enticing deal. Some people don't care about the reviews. Some people do. So, me personally, I would skip it because there's no reviews, but a lot of people don't. And so they'll click on it, and if they like it, they'll buy it. And so one of the best ways, again, like kind of getting sales velocity kickstarted on certain keywords is by advertising another good example of a product with just 2 reviews. They launched almost a year ago. They're probably not doing too much with their listing. I feel really bad for clicking on their ad. Maybe I'll just do something like this just to dive in a little bit more. Oops. By the way, a little hack here. If you want to find a product on Amazon, you go .amazon.com/DP/ and then the ASIN. I think it's detail page. DP is what it stands for. Yeah, so here's a product that's probably not selling well because it's just very generic listing. There's no really lifestyle images. But if you come in with a better listing and you advertise, it's one of the best ways of getting your sales velocity kickstarted and showing up for more keywords. But it will take time organically to show up. With ads, you can kind of cut the line just like those sellers were doing and get sales right away. Yeah. Let's see here. Good question. So unfortunately, I don't have much experience in anything other than the United States especially for wholesale. If there's anybody here that could answer this question a little bit more about, if you're registered and you want to do wholesale, do I need to create a doing business as? Yeah. So to my knowledge, if this was in the United States, and correct me if I'm wrong, is DE and VA states? Those could be abbreviations for Virginia and Delaware. Hopefully, I'm not really off there, and they're not 2 different countries. But if they were 2 different states, and it really doesn't matter where your resale certificate is, to my knowledge, as long as you have a resale certificate. Some states may be different, like the state of Texas, where I currently live in. I would get a resale certificate in Texas, but there's a good chance if I reach out to a company in California, they may say, hey, we need the California resale certificate. Don't quote me on that, but I would just more so reach out to your wholesalers and ask, hey, I have a resale certificate in my state. Does that work? If not, then just go get the other resale certificate. But I believe resale certificates are pretty universal. Again, I could be wrong on that. I know each state calls them something different, like a resale certificate or a resale permit or something else. I can't remember these other terms, but if anybody has a better answer to that, sorry I can't give you a full answer there, but hopefully I can answer another one of your questions today. Okay, term P is a good question here. How can I offer liquidations to Amazon if I have damaged returns that I no longer want to sell or have? So yeah, on Amazon, if you're not selling inventory or there's damaged, you can liquidate the inventory. And let me see if I can show you how to do this real quick. In your manage inventory, manage all inventory, you can go up here to remove unfillable inventory. I haven't done this in a while. Hopefully this works. So like right here, we have some jungle sticks. I can create a removal order. And right here, so I could liquidate it, or I could return it to my address, or I could just have Amazon dispose of it. So this is how you do that. Hopefully that makes sense. It does need to be, you do need to have unfillable inventory available for that to happen. I believe there might be a way actually of, let me come back all to my inventory, of like doing it for an existing ASIN. If you come over here, you can't really see, can you? Let me get my head out of the way there. If you come over here, sometimes you're able to do it from here, but I don't see that option. Oh, create removal order. Boom. Yep, same way. So there you go. Hopefully that answers your question. If you need to liquidate, return, or dispose, you can, it's probably easier to do this way. Just go to your inventory. Boom, create a removal order. Hopefully that answers your question. Cool. Yes, so this good question here about Alibaba. Can I ship bulk inventory from Alibaba to Amazon for my first time? So it won't be leaving there's like no Alibaba warehouse that I'm aware of, but yes, you can absolutely do all your communications through Alibaba, and you can actually pay for your inventory in Alibaba, and your supplier can send it directly from the warehouse into FBA. That's the most cost-effective way. versus having your supplier send it to maybe like a 3PL, which is like a basically like a warehouse that can hold inventory and maybe inspect it or repackage it or just hold it for any reason, and then they send it into Amazon. But the best way is to absolutely do what you're recommending or you're suggesting there of sending directly from your supplier's warehouse into Amazon, and you can pay for that inventory and make those agreements all within Alibaba's messaging system. And they actually have a program for the name. It's like quality assurance or something like that, where they sort of protect you in case anything goes wrong with your product or with the shipping as well. So it's definitely a good way to pay for your inventory and get it shipped into FBA. Good question. So your opinion on wholesale FBA, is it better or private label for a sustainable business? Specifically, to answer your question about sustainable business, I believe private label. Now, obviously I'm biased. I prefer private label and I'm very open about that, but there's many people who have very successful and sustainable wholesale businesses that I know, and they do very well. So they'll have a completely different opinion than me, I'm sure. But to give you sort of my reasoning behind why I say private label is more sustainable is because you don't need to go hustling for new products and new brands almost weekly or monthly in order to like maintain your sales velocity or just like your sales in general. So an example of that is on private label. When I'm doing product research, I'm doing that product research, one time for one product mostly. So I'm maybe spending a few months looking at products on Amazon, making a decision, and then buying inventory. And now I can sell that product in the buy box with no competitors. And I'm kind of done with product research. I can now shift all my attention to kind of just like marketing or advertising and just trying to like sell my product. Versus on a wholesale, you got to do product research all the time. So you're looking at products that are selling well on Amazon, and you're also looking at brands that are willing to open up wholesale accounts with you. If you can find a few that will work with you, that's great. You can start selling their products, but now you're competing with people in the buy box. So it's not really sustainable from that perspective. You're always unsure of if you're going to be in the buy box or if you're not going to be out of the buy box. But then there's also the other side of it that is, you need to continue finding more brands and more products to work with. One day you could, 1 month, let's say, you could have 0 sales because all your products are not in the buy box. So you're going to need really hustle to find more brands to work with in order to keep that and maintain that business. So I, again, for that reason of like strictly like thinking about product research, will think that private label is more sustainable because you can always add more to it, but you never have to worry about your business being undercut by anybody else competing for your buy box. So for me, it's a little more sustainable for that reason. And you have the ability of selling it one day. So that's obviously like the goal that everybody wants to achieve one day, is to like exit their business for a hefty amount. And to me, I think that's really fun, having that in the back of your mind as you're going through the process of learning how to sell on Amazon or expanding your business. You're like, what could happen if I keep doubling my business year over year for the next 5 years? Surely it'll become at a point to where it's investable. And someone's like, hey, they're growing pretty well. If they put it on the market, that's a pretty good business that doubles every year or, just increases every year. So I love having that thing to shoot for in my business. And you can't really do that with wholesale because you're not creating your own brand. Yeah. Good question. So when I'm using the extension, the Jungle Scout extension, and I'm looking at the listings that are ranked, it includes sponsored ad listings. When I remove, the opportunity score is affected. Okay, great question. So this is exactly what the question is referring to. You open up the extension. Let me show you exactly what I was going to tell you to do. But yeah, you can come in the settings here, and you can disable or enable sponsored products. So I have it enabled now, and you can see the ads. To your point, yes, when you remove these, it's affecting your metrics at the top here. So I personally like to remove these by default because I just want to see organically what the products that are at the top are doing. And the reason why I do that is because you'll see here, there's a product with no reviews, 45 reviews, 2 reviews, and they're probably new sellers, which it does look like they are, but I don't want to base my kind of like decisions on people that are cutting the line. I just want to see the organic metrics. So yeah, I definitely recommend turning that off. And when I turn this off, you'll see these numbers change here because less products are in there. But yeah, I do like to base my decisions off of the organic products, because that's the goal. You want to, when you launch a product, eventually show up on the first page and ideally in the top like 5 or 10 organically in the search results for certain keywords. So yep, just like to me personally disable the sponsored products. Yeah, Amanda, good question. When you're doing wholesale and you're offering a brand the value of improving their listings, like you say, you can do it with images, bullet points, etc. How do you do that? Again, we have some really good videos on that, so I recommend watching that for like a longer answer. But really what you need to do is, there's a lot of different ways that you can do this, but maybe to do the listing building up front. So you can use a tool like Jungle Scout to build a listing, and then you essentially will send that to the seller as you reach out to them. Say, hey, put together this improved listing for you. Yeah, maybe don't do the images right away because that's going to take some resources from you, but it's relatively easy to improve their copy. So their title, bullet points, and description. And again, you can use a tool like Jungle Scout. Maybe I can show my screen here again to do that for you. So let me grab an ASIN real quick. I'll grab this ASIN right here. That's crazy, a dog treadmill. That's insane. And you can use a tool like Listing Builder within Jungle Scout by creating a new listing up here. Start with an ASIN, and you actually just copy the ASIN in. And when you click Next Step, it's actually just going to import that listing into Jungle Scout. Now you'll need to do some keyword research first so that you have keywords over here. But say you did that, you can kind of pick one of these keywords, list, this isn't relevant, but I would have a better keyword list that's more relevant here. And now this actually does look like a good listing. They have a bunch of good bullets. They even have A+ content here. But if they don't have a good listing, this is where you'd kind of like do their listing. What you could then do is sort of like download this. You can take screenshots of it, or if you want to get really like technical or creative, you can copy things. Go back into Amazon. This is a little trick for you. You can copy things, right click and click inspect. And then what that will do is allow you to like change the text on screen. So you just like find the text here. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to paste my new text in there, hit search or click enter, and then it changes it on the page. Now when you refresh, that will change. We'll go back to the original, but you could do that. You could kind of go through here and redo these bullet points. If it's a standard product description, you can redo that as well. Or you can just all do it within a tool like this. And then you can even export it into Excel and send it to them that way. But that's a real scrappy way of how to do it. Of course, you want to maybe take some more time and maybe even do images. But again, I'd probably wait to do the images later, but set up that you are willing to take better images or just improve on their current images. Maybe it's just like going into Canva and adding graphics or zooming into certain features and just spicing them up a little bit. But that's a quick and scrappy way of like actually showing them what you're planning on doing with their listing, is using a tool like Jungle Scout to bring in their existing listing and then optimize it with keywords that you find that would be helpful for them. And then you just need to communicate that with them too. Like, hey, there's not that many keywords that you're ranking for on Amazon. I found a whole bunch of other keywords that, I'll put into your listing. As you can see here, the title and bullet points include those keywords, and that should hopefully drive more traffic to your product. But hopefully that answers the question. Again, we have more videos on this channel specifically for wholesale, but also just listing optimization videos as well. That should be really helpful for you. Yeah. D has a question about customer damage returns. Any advice? So if a customer damages it, you can, in your settings, set up what happens if they're trying to return the product and it's damaged. And so you can offer, I think the default is it does offer a refund. Amazon's just refunding everybody, but you can, in your settings, say if it's customer damaged, offer a partial or don't do a refund. If there's nothing you can do after that point, like sometimes it's still going to get through and you're going to have to give them the refund. The best way is to it's most likely going to have to be disposed. You could also send it back to you to investigate further. And the reason why that might be interesting is you might see that Maybe it's like your packaging is too thin. So like when they sent it back to Amazon, it actually got damaged on the ride back. Sometimes the actual product could be what was damaged, and there's really nothing you can do there. But what I would recommend doing is, I don't know if I can show it here or not, but go into your settings and change your, I think it's your return settings, and you're able to, here, maybe I'll just show it right here. So you go to your settings, return settings, and I think it's in resolutions. And you can basically say like, okay, oh gosh, I haven't done this in so long. Let's say I have a product that's in the home improvement category. And there's some return here. This actually might not be the way of doing it because this is more so like about the product itself. But gosh, I have to do more. I'll have to remember how this works. But there is a way in Amazon, and again, I don't know if it's in here or not, of changing kind of like what happens when it's damaged. Yeah, sorry, I can't remember exactly how to do that, but hopefully there's some good resources online about that. Jungle Scout might even have a blog that can dive further into that as well. Boom. Good question, though. Yeah, very, very, very interesting. So are product sales dominated by Amazon Basics still feasible to sell? So let me actually try to find a niche for you that is Amazon Basics, and I'll answer that question. Pee pads for dogs, I believe there's one in here. So if Amazon Basics is selling your product, which right here, boom. So there's a washable pee pads for dogs. Amazon Basics is selling it, $17. Everybody else on the page is well above $17. You know, it's going to be hard to compete with. One thing I will say is Amazon Basics is the cheap alternative, the cost-effective alternative. They're the Walmart to Target. They're going to be selling you a product that you just want the cheapest price for, and they're probably going to be the lowest offer on the page because they're Amazon, and they can get the prices probably really low, or they could afford to lose money even selling it. So what I would recommend doing is asking yourself the question, is this product a product that people want because it's cheap, or do they want it because it's better? And so an example of that is these pee pads for dogs. In my opinion, these are disposable pee pads for dogs. So let me just type that in to get rid of all the reusable ones. Disposable. In my opinion, if I was buying disposable pee pads, I really don't care. There's not much you can do to make the product that much better from one to the other. I'm probably just trying to buy the cheapest one. So right here, $17 for like, I'm sure it's like looks like a 100 pack or 50 pack even. I'd buy that over this one here, even though it says premium. You know, my dog's peeing on it. I don't need anything crazy. So, and I'm going to throw it away. So I'm probably just going to buy the cheaper one. Now, if I'm buying a washable pee pad for dog, which we do sell here at Jungle Scout, this is something that you're going to be keeping for a while. And people like these because they can use them over time. They don't have to throw it away. So it's cost effective. But also, thicker ones are going to work better because you can imagine if a dog pees, it's probably going to go through these real thin ones. So whether this is your first time figuring that out, or your second time, maybe you bought one of the cheaper ones and now you want to buy a thicker one, this is something that people are willing to pay more for. So if Amazon Basics was in here, and they're not, even though they are right here, again, these are disposable ones. If they were selling a washable pee pad for dog, as long as like my product is better, then that's totally okay to launch in that category because, again, you're making a better product that people are willing to pay for. So I guess just to summarize, if the only advantage or the main reason of buying a certain product is the price point, then it might be a little harder to compete with Amazon Basics. But if you're trying to actually improve the product or make sell a product that people want because it's better and has like a reason to buy a higher priced product, then I wouldn't even worry about Amazon Basics. But yeah, that's definitely a common question. I mean, Amazon Basics is everywhere, so it's almost hard to find a niche without them in it. I don't like to avoid those. I just, again, try to like use that logic that I just mentioned there. Okay. Let's see. This is an interesting question about you want to wholesale from Alibaba. What are your thoughts? So most, to my knowledge, Alibaba suppliers are, you know, for private label sellers or people that are trying to customize a product or just sell their products. The main advantage of wholesaling is you're selling products that people are already aware of, and they're typing into Amazon to buy already, and you're sort of just capitalizing on that built-in marketing that you didn't have to do. So on Alibaba, you unfortunately can't be buying products from brands like that. You can't be buying Nike shoes. You're not able to buy, Yeti water bottles. You're buying from suppliers that can make those types of products, but not that exact type of product. So I would personally avoid Alibaba for wholesale, and more so, again, just reach out to the brands specifically that make the products that you want to sell or wholesale on Amazon. And also the disadvantage of Alibaba is typically they're from overseas. So like we're in the United States here. The suppliers that we mostly interact with are from like China, India, or some other countries, but getting it to the customer would take so long that it's just not worth it. You could obviously buy products, get it shipped into a warehouse, and then it goes to them. But again, you're buying generic products, not products that people are already aware of and are established. So yeah, I would avoid Alibaba for wholesale specifically. Yeah. Awesome. This is a question that hopefully applies to a lot of you, but what do you recommend for new sellers on getting sales? My product just launched yesterday. Thanks. Yeah, so there's a few ways, it's a loaded question, but I'll try to give you something actionable here. There's two strategies I would say. I mean, I think it really all comes down to advertising. If you're launching a new product, the only way to get out in front of people is ads. Now, of course, you can do organic marketing off of Amazon, right? You can do TikTok videos, you can do anything on Instagram, and you can try to bring people in from off Amazon organically. You could also run ads on those platforms too. But the best converting ad will be on Amazon because those shoppers on Amazon are already willing to buy products. They're there on Amazon to buy something. And so the conversion rate is much better because they're further down the funnel. And so I would always recommend when you first launch is to get advertising pumping out right away, because really what you need reviews. You need social proof that your product is a good product. And once you get to a certain review count, it's arbitrary. It could be 5, 10, 100, 20, 500 reviews or whatever the case is. Then you kind of can relax a little bit on the ad spend and really just kind of get more organic sales because your product has social trust or social proof in it and kind of enough like street cred with Amazon to have them promote you on the organic results. So what I would do is focus on advertising. A few campaigns specifically that I really like are sponsored brand video campaigns. So if you have a video for your product, or you can make it super easy. You can just take pictures and maybe in Canva or something. You can literally just like make a little slideshow video. Those ads are great because they show up on the page, like they like dominate the whole page. This is what one looks like right here. It's taking up like this whole carousel that usually is dominated by like 4 to 5 products. But it's right there in front of you, and a lot of people will click on that video and they will buy that product, or at least they'll be more inclined to buy it. But I found this to be, the sponsored brand video, to be a very profitable ad type. Some other ads that work well are obviously just your regular sponsored product ads here. And one that I like even more is the ASIN targeting ads. So when you're on a listing, you scroll down and you see these sections here. A lot of shoppers buy these products, like a ton. And so actually you can see our product listed right here. This is our ad. This is doing very well for us. All of our product targeting ads do very well. So that's another campaign type that I really like. They're sponsored product manual campaigns, and you choose which ASINs you want to target. Now, I would target people that are close to you in range of reviews. So like you can see the seller here has 3,000 reviews. We have 1,000. It's not too far off. But like this product here with 12 reviews might be a harder sell to someone that started on this listing here. So you can, inside Amazon, actually say like who you're going to target, and you can pick ASINs that are like under 100 reviews even, or have a higher price point than you. But then last kind of like point here would just be to run automatic campaigns. And that's essentially just allowing Amazon to go out and bid for you. And it's really powerful because in the beginning, they might not know what to bid on. And so they're kind of just like spraying a wide net, but eventually that net will get refined down, and Amazon will be like, okay, I have a really good idea of what this product is, and what keywords it does really well on. So I'm going to keep optimizing and bidding on them for those keywords. But then it gives you more keywords that you can add to your manual campaign. So to sum it up, run an automatic campaign just to cast a wide net and kind of get the Amazon algorithm thinking and optimizing itself. Run a sponsor brand video campaign because they're very efficient and usually people don't, it's very easy to click on. And then third, run ASIN targeting campaigns, targeting competitors that are close to you in reviews or have a higher price point or a similar price point to you. Those would be my best 3 campaigns to get started on in the beginning. But yeah, good question. All right. Get through these questions still. And if you're just joined a little bit ago, welcome to the stream. This is a weekly live Q&A stream where we're going to answer all of your questions about selling on Amazon. And if we don't get to any by the end of this video, then we'll make sure to try to get to them next week. So at the end of this video, you can actually leave your questions in the comment section, not the chat, but in the comment section, and we'll pull those questions over into our next live Q&A video, which is next week, and we'll answer them as pre-submitted questions before jumping into the live Q&A. Yeah, hopefully you guys are enjoying this so far. Let's try to get a few more questions answered here. Interesting. Yeah. Is it a good idea to search products that are popular in local markets and sell them on Amazon? So if I'm understanding this question correctly, more so, let's say you're selling in the United States, but you live in the UK. But a lot of people in the UK buy a certain product that just for some reason isn't popular in the United States. I don't know if this is true or not, but let's call it bidets. Bidets are growing in popularity in the United States, but they're more popular outside of the United States. So maybe this is a good example. Maybe it's not. Maybe I have no idea what I'm talking about. But that's a good example of like a universal product that could be has demand in both markets. So it would be a good idea to sell, bidets in the US if you're seeing traction in the UK or anywhere else. Now, let's say there's a very hyper-specific product or type of product or niche even in your market, in your country, or in your part of the world that isn't applicable in the country that you're planning on selling in. I wouldn't sell that product. The best way of kind of doing that research is using Jungle Scout to just really confirm that. So like, let's say, I'm just going to type in bidets and you kind of just come in here, you do your research, and I'm looking at the US marketplace. Another way of doing that is within our product research tools. Let's say product database, for example. You can look at bidets here. So like something that you can do, you can literally just type in bidet in the include keywords and ASINs list, search, and you'll see once it populates all the products that have that keyword in them in the United States. But you can also do this in different countries as well, or different markets, and you kind of just like cross-check how many sales or how dominant bidets are in different markets. But this is what I would do. And now this is a tough one because this is including like bidet parts, so you kind of got to do a little more refinement here. But I believe in your extension you can let's see, I'm looking at the United States. Yeah, you can change it here as well. So you could actually change it to Spain, and let's just kind of go back here. I don't know if I can refresh or not, but you should be able to check out different marketplaces. And in fact, that didn't make sense what I just did because I'm on the US marketplace, but you could go to amazon.com or the other countries. I'm not sure what those are actually. And use Jungle Scout to look at the data there. But yeah, I would just confirm that there's data backing up what you're trying to sell in the market you're trying to sell, as well as your local market. Very good question. Okay, so the next question here is, can you tell any Canadian site to ungate for grocery or beauty category? I'm not exactly sure exactly what you're asking here, but if you're looking to ungate in either of these categories, the best way is you got to order maybe like a sample order from like 1 or 2 units or so, and letting them know that you'll order more in the future, but you're just trying to get ungated on Amazon, and order that first couple of units for them and then submit that receipt or that invoice into Amazon. And then once that is submitted and approved by Amazon, you'll get ungated, and then you can go back to that supplier and order the rest of your inventory as you planned on. So hopefully that answers your question, but feel free to follow up if I didn't understand it correctly. Good question. Squid Gaming asks, do you need to get approval from, third-party accessories of well-established brands like Nike? So the example here is, a hat rack that is marketed towards Nike hats. So you'd be building a private label brand selling hat racks. And that's very interesting. So, if it's only a hat rack that works with Nike hats, which I don't believe that would be like a proprietary hat shape that would only kind of work on a certain rack. So, if that's not the case, you can absolutely advertise. Like you can put a Nike hat or something in your image and it's like on the rack. You don't need approval from that. If Amazon tells you to take it down, then you just take it down. It's fine. And you got to be very, very clear that that hat is not included. So that's something you just want to really call out in your images and in your copy as well. But no, you don't need approval to kind of like put that in your marketing. Or even like in your copy. But I wouldn't say like very specifically like for Nike hats, because then that's excluding people who are wearing any other type of hat. Now, let's say a whole different example here. If you are building a product that is an accessory to a certain product, so like maybe you have an iPhone phone case that you're thinking about selling, you absolutely can put that in your title. You can market it. You can say phone case for iPhone. That's completely fine. You don't need approval from Apple to do that. So hopefully that answers your questions. There's two ways of going about it. Yeah. Let me know if that answers your question, Squid Gaming, or if there's more that I can elaborate on there. Yeah, could you expand on this question a little bit more? Why is there a dozen number of sellers under Amazon? Are you referring to the buy box? So like in the buy box, you kind of come on here. Here's ships and sold by Amazon. Kind of going to open up the buy box here to see if there's any more. Maybe this is a good example. Let me hide myself. So in the buy box here, the buy box winner is Amazon. It's shipped and sold by Amazon. The next buy box option is Amazon Warehouse, which is basically like a used version. As you can see, used like new. So sometimes when you sell a product and it gets sent back into Amazon, like a return, if it's good enough to be resold, then Amazon can put it in this kind of category where it's sold by Amazon Warehouse, and it's basically like them liquidating your inventory. You come down here, there's another one, Amazon Warehouse. So it's like they have a couple units, it looks like. 3 units, it looks like. So for some reason, they separate these instead of just having them in one. But yeah, this is a good example of Amazon Warehouse took inventory that's unsellable as new, and they're selling it used, but it's Amazon still in the buy box. I don't know if that answers your question exactly, but that's typically what happens is Amazon's in the buy box multiple times, depending on the condition of the product, or that would most likely be it, because ships from is just like where it's shipping from. Like, is it shipping from FBA or from a supplier's warehouse? And sold by is the seller. So sold by is a seller. You typically can see a lot of Amazon in the ship by, but sold by is going to be different for each product. So like if I go to another product, I'm sure, yeah, this might be a better example. Oh, there's only one in the buy box, but here you can see sold by this Veckin company. They're the seller. Amazon's the fulfillment company. But yeah. All right. Yeah, Dylan, good question. When you're preparing for your launch and you're seeing many competitor product listings going down, so I assume either they're going unavailable because they ran out of inventory, like you said, or they're actually just like gone. And sometimes that happens when you run out of inventory. For some reason, Amazon, like, just your listing isn't available. That can happen. And to your point, your speculation is that they're going out of stock because demand is increasing very quickly. That could be the case, that, category-wide demand has gone up and a lot of products in the niche are going out of stock. Sometimes it could just be that seller or those sellers weren't able to buy enough inventory in time. That's certainly a hard thing to do as a seller, consistently keeping in enough inventory, especially if your demand is really high for that product. So there's like a sweet spot of how much inventory do I send into Amazon? You don't want to send in too much inventory so that you're paying a ton of excess storage fees, but then you also don't want to send in enough inventory so that you're running out of stock very quickly. And a lot of sellers just kind of get stuck there. Maybe they're out of stock for a couple of weeks or, ideally just a couple of days, but that could be to your point, a bigger issue or bigger kind of, it's not an issue, it's like a good thing. But yeah, I actually wouldn't put too much stock into that. I would more so just like kind of put that on the seller for not having enough inventory to meet demand. Or maybe they're just going through some personal or business financial, I guess, like issues with their business. And so they're cutting down their inventory for a little bit. I know a lot of sellers who actually do that. They will stop selling a product for like a month and kind of revamp their product itself. And then when they do come back in stock, the product is improved. So that could be the case as well. It's very nuanced for each different situation. Yeah, so how much should you budget to run ads for your first month? It really just depends on how much you have available after all of your costs. So you've paid for your inventory, you've maybe gotten product images done, maybe got like an LLC or something, and now you maybe have a few $100 hopefully left over for advertising. And so it really doesn't matter. Like there's no like number I'm going to be able to share that is like global and is like the right answer. It really just depends on how much you have left over and what you're willing to lose. Now, you're not going to hopefully lose all that money, but when you're first launching your product, you're probably not going to be profitable just because you don't have any reviews yet. And so it's going to take a lot to get people to convert. So I always just kind of think about it that way. Like if I were to lose this money, am I okay with that? And obviously no one's okay with losing money, but it's under the assumption that this is going to be like your floor and you might not be profitable right now, but in a few months you will be profitable. In fact, the average Amazon seller becomes profitable after 3 months. And I'm not pulling that out of anywhere. We have a Jungle Scout report on this where we've interviewed a ton of sellers, and we do it every year, and it's typically the same result every time. But around 3 months, sellers have told us they become profitable, which means those first 3 months that they aren't profitable and they have basically lost money trying to acquire customers. But once they have done that and the review counts have gone up, it's a lot easier to acquire customers because it's cheaper. So, I think my last product launch, maybe to give you a personal example, I spent like $1,000 my first month launching ads. Now, keep in mind, I think I had an ad budget of like $500 to $800. The other money where that came from is my sales on those ads. So the cool thing about Amazon is if you spend $1,000 on ads and you make $1,000, you're actually not spending money. Like they're not pulling money from your account, depending on how your payment is set up, your payment method. So there's basically, you could tell Amazon to charge your credit card for ad spend, which is good if you're trying to get points, or you can enable the feature that basically takes from your sales. So that's why I said, like, if you sold $1,000 of sales and you spent $1,000 in sales, that's zero. You don't have to pay anything. And so that's how I kind of launched. I had like a $500 or $800 budget. I can't remember the exact amount, but then fingers crossed, like I hope I get some sales to kind of cover the rest so I can keep kind of spending past that amount. And I did. I got enough sales to basically not have to get charged on my credit card or on my bank account. And so maybe very broad answer is like, a couple $100 would be nice, but you don't need to do that. More so like a nice to have. Yeah. All right. So let's now pull up this next question. Yeah, so do you need a UPC for a product you're planning on selling if it already has one? So if you're doing wholesale, you don't need a UPC barcode. And that is because a UPC barcode really only exists very similar to like a social security number. If you're familiar with that, if you're in the United States, it's basically a code that says, this is Jake's number. There's only one of Jake Zaratsian, and here's his number to like, this is his number. And it's the same way with UPC and products. So like on Amazon, there's one product and that UPC barcode is attached to that product forever. It's not attached to a seller. It's attached to that product. And so if you're wholesaling, you're selling that same product. So you don't need a new UPC barcode. how is that fair to that seller? Well, they're the one that created the product. So, they bought it once. They're the brand who owns that UPC barcode. So it is, I think it's fair for them because they actually own that product versus everyone else who's reselling it. So hopefully that answers your question. You only need to get a UPC barcode if you're introducing a brand new product to the market, which is a completely different product, customized or just tweaked with your branding on it. But yeah, hopefully that metaphor or hopefully that made a little bit of sense how I described that there. Hopefully I'm going to understand this correctly, but yeah, so how can you get reviews on your seller account? So there's two types of reviews. There's obviously product reviews, and then there's basically like brand and selling account reviews. And to your point, maybe everybody's leaving product reviews, and this goes both ways depending on which question or how you're trying to ask this question. Most people leave product reviews, which are these down here, but the other reviews that you can get are on the brand. And okay, this is a horrible example because Amazon is selling it. Let me try to find another one where Amazon's not selling it. Okay, a bunch of Amazon. Oh, I think I saw one right there. This guy, seller. Okay, so he's got 46 company ratings. And you kind of go here and you can see these company ratings, which some people don't realize what they're doing, but this is probably like meant to be product reviews, but they left it on the company level, which is fine. But these actually help you prove to Amazon that you are a legitimate business and you're meeting customer satisfaction. And these are great. So you can specifically ask people to leave these reviews. It's a little bit harder because you got to be, buyers are less aware of this. They're more so just aware of the term reviews, and they associate that with a product review. So there might be a way, I haven't tried this actually, but a lot of people, what they do is a little QR code on their product insert in the product, and it will send them to the page where they can leave a product review. And I haven't tried this before, but what you could do if you're trying to get more of these company reviews is to change up that QR code to leave a company review. I'm not sure if that's like something you can do or not, but that would be a cool strategy to explore. The benefit of having more company reviews is it helps you, like I said, like be more established from Amazon's perspective, but especially if you're competing for the buy box here, the more company reviews you have, the more likely you are to be above somebody else that has a lower or a worse review than you. So they are important, especially for competing with the buy box. But hopefully that like little micro strategy there is helpful to maybe send them directly to the place that you want them to leave a review on. And sometimes QR codes is a good way of doing that. Yeah. Awesome. Bob asked a good question here about inventory turnover. When you order from China, it takes maybe 2 months to get in, and you can turn those budget only 2 to 3 times a year, and the US 5 to 6 times seems better. Any ideas about it? I'm a little confused, Bob, actually with that question. Inventory turnover is, if you're asking like, maybe you order 2 or 3 times a year versus like in the US 5 to 6 times a year. What I would say is Amazon's very they keep adding on new fees that so for example, Amazon will charge you if your inventory is long excess inventory. So if your inventory is in their warehouses for too long, they'll charge you. They actually are introducing a new fee later this year where if your inventory is not stocked enough to meet demand for your product, they'll actually charge you because you're not meeting demand. So there's a sweet spot there. You don't want to be going out of stock, but you don't want to be overstocking as well. So I think the best strategy that if you can optimize this is to order about 3 months worth of inventory. And once you are seeing your sales start to like really pick up, then you might need to order 4 months of inventory. But the golden rule is about 3 months worth of inventory. So I would personally like to order more inventory orders from my supplier with less units than the other alternative, which is buying a lot of units and maybe ordering 1 or 2 times a year. And again, the benefit of ordering more, less units is because you're not going to be putting in like 2,000 units into FBA, just sitting there collecting storage fees. A really good kind of like example of this is during Q4 when Amazon storage fees increased dramatically, like they 3 times in price. If you send a bunch of inventory in just to meet your holiday demand, if you don't sell that inventory, you're collecting a lot of storage fees. So it may be better to like send in smaller units or smaller orders, but then doing that more frequently throughout the year so that you're not eating those storage costs. That's just what I like to do. But again, the golden rule kind of is 3 months worth of inventory. Try to keep it at that. And you can use a tool like Jungle Scout. So if you're not familiar, we have a tool called Inventory Manager. So in here, I can look at the past 30, 60, 90, 100 days, and that's going to look at my sales history. And so let's look at the last 90 days and do it for one of our products here. So what this is telling me here is, so if I look at the last 90 days of sales over here, I'm doing about 12 daily sales. Every single day over the past 90 days, we've been selling around 12 units a day. And so that means my date to reorder is this date right here. And this is how many units I need to order because I'm going to go out of stock at this time, basically. So I need to reorder around this time, this many units. And Amazon or Jungle Scout knows that because in here in our settings, we basically said we have our lead time in here. So it takes us 80 days for our product to get into Amazon. So we have 134 days remaining here. Our current inventory level is 1,600. And yeah, so this is a really good tool to tell you basically like when you need to reorder to avoid going out of stock and how much you need to reorder to keep up with the demand that you're currently on pace for. And you can see here, even if I look at the past 15 days to 120 days, we're pretty much around the same ballpark, 11 or 12 units or so. And the reorder quantity is the same. So hopefully this is helpful. You can use Jungle Scout's Inventory Manager. It's a lifesaver when it comes to figuring out when you need to reorder and how much you need to order, depending on your sales volume. But yeah. How much does Amazon charge for storing products at Amazon warehouse? Good question. So if you, Jungle Scout has a blog article on this, but I'll try to find the Amazon FBA storage fees page because it changes all the time. So you definitely need to be kind of like up to date on these. So actually that's pretty cool. I just typed it in on Google and the Jungle Scout article came up here. So we have some pretty good breakdowns here. We also have a calculator for you if you wanted to access that, but it really just depends based on the size of your product. And what I'll do actually, maybe this is more helpful as I'll show a real example. So for our P pads, what I can do is in my manage inventory, I can hover over here, available, and I can see, oh, wait a second. No, go right here. Oh gosh, it's been a minute. I thought it was right here. How do I do this? There's a way to do this. Hang on with me. God, it's been a minute. Oh, they just moved it to the right-hand side. Oh, okay. Used to be like a little pop-up. But over here, I can see for our product here, we're being charged in storage specifically 22 cents, if you can see down here, per unit in these months. And then in Q4, 62 cents. How that is determined here, I'm going to click this I. Sorry for like zooming in a lot, but click this I here. And what that's going to do is it's going to break down like the values that's used to determine this. So basically, you can read this here. This is really good to read up on. And you can learn more by clicking this hyperlink. But it's basically the dimensions of your product, how much that's taking up in their storage facilities, and then you can kind of like see a calculation of that. So like our volume and how that kind of like calculates into our per unit storage fees. So this is a kind of like a really good way of just seeing how much you're going to be paying for inventory. You can do this on existing products in the marketplace. So if you're not a seller yet, you can use Amazon's revenue calculator tool. You just type in Amazon revenue calculator on Google. You can define the product so you can like figure out packaging dimensions yourself, or let's say you're trying to sell a bidet. You can just like copy the ASIN here. And this is a similar product that you're going to sell, and you just want to see the fees for it. You can come over here, enter the ASIN right here, run a search for it, and then Amazon's pulling in all their information, and you can see exactly how much they're being charged in storage each month based on their weights and dimensions. So this is a good way of kind of like figuring out how much it costs to sell on Amazon per unit, depending on the time of the year. And you can even come down here if you want to be like more like crazy with it, but like you can say estimated monthly units sold. You can like change this to a certain number, like 100, average unit stored a month. You can like go up in cost to see like the actual. Oh wait, I thought I gave you totals, but I guess not. Never mind. I thought you were able to do that. But yeah, hopefully that's a good way of figuring out your storage cost or potential storage cost. And again, it's all just based on your weights and dimensions, but Amazon has a page on their website that kind of breaks down the cost more detailed. And again, that gets updated all the time. This is interesting. So you're talking about A+ content, but creating videos. So to my knowledge, you can't put a video in A+ content unless you're it's called premium A+ content, and that's usually only offered to really big brands that work with Amazon as first-party sellers. But you can create videos once you have brand registry, and so that is if that's what you're asking. So you'll need to get into actually, you know what? I think that's no longer a thing anymore. I think anyone can create a video. You don't need to be in brand registry to do that. So never mind. That was an older requirement of brand registry. But yeah. Also, there is ways to do videos in Seller Central now. I believe on your campaign manager. I haven't looked at this in a while, but they have now a new area. Creatives, I think. Yeah, video builder. Boom. Okay, page not working. Okay, well, just take my word for it. Let's try to go. Okay, it's not working. Maybe if I did the incognito tab or something, it would work. It's probably gonna make me sign in, isn't it? Oh, I don't want to do that. Okay, so yeah, basically, if that would have worked, there's a video builder, which is basically just making a slideshow for your product based on your product images that you could do in Amazon. Let's try one more time. Nope. Okay. I tried, but that is one way that you can create videos on Amazon through the ad campaign manager. Let's see. Very popular question. Maybe I'm looking around for a prompt, but I won't go away and find one. But the difference here between a UPC and FNSKU barcode is the UPC barcode is basically like a global code that you can use on your product no matter where you're selling it. If you're selling on Amazon, Target, Walmart, your own store, whatever, this one code is globally accepted around the world. So like pretend if you brought your product to a store or if it was being sold in the store, when they scan that barcode, it's going to appear in the store system. Like that's a code that everywhere accepts and understands. FNSKU barcode is only for Amazon. Amazon created it. And the reason for its existence is to basically separate Jake's inventory from like Tom's inventory. So let's say we're both selling the same product on Amazon, but we're resellers of that product. I would send my inventory in differently from Tom's, and I want my inventory separate from his because I'm handling it differently. Maybe he messed up his inventory. I don't want his inventory mixed with mine. So FNSKU barcodes really just separates the inventory, but depending on the seller, where UPC is a barcode for the product. Now the UPC barcode on Amazon, you don't need it on your product. Where it gets kind of confusing, I think, for people is you need the UPC barcode in order to create an FNSKU barcode. But once you've created the UPC barcode and you've put that into Amazon, you got the FNSKU barcode, you no longer need that UPC barcode. The FNSKU barcode is what goes on your product. So I guess to summarize that, UPC is for the product, FNSKU is for the seller, and on Amazon, you only need the FNSKU barcode on your product. If you want to learn more, we actually have an amazing video on our channel. If you kind of just come over here, I'll just type in UPC, and Lenny does a great job in this video of kind of breaking down the differences between them, how to get them, and all that fun stuff. So this is a really good video. Highly recommend checking that out. Okay. So answer a few more questions and then we'll wrap up for the day. But like I said, if you don't get your questions answered or you're watching this after the live premiere, you can always ask your questions in the comment section below. And next week, we'll take those questions and we'll use them as our pre-submitted questions in the beginning of the video before answering the live questions. But I really appreciate you guys being here again with us this week. asking a lot of great questions. It's so tough because I want to get through all these, but we only have so much time. So I won't be able to get to all the questions, but I really appreciate you guys being really active here and sticking with me on this Q&A. That's already an hour and a half. Wow. All right. So let's answer a few more here. Good question. So Amazon Vine, how long does it typically take to get going and receiving reviews? So for those who don't know, Amazon Vine is a program that allows you to enroll your products to essentially be given away for free to established Vine reviewers on Amazon. And those Vine reviewers are basically shoppers on Amazon that Amazon really trusts because they write really good reviews, like really thorough reviews. And so you can sign up for the program, basically give away your product for free, and they'll leave you a detailed review. So how long it takes is very, it differs. Like I've launched a few different products and it's been different every time. I've had reviews come in within a week of sending out the product, and I've had reviews never come in. So I've like my last product launch, I think I only did like 10 reviews, or I only basically ordered like 10 of these Vine reviews. I got, I think 8 of them, which kind of stinks. Like it should be a requirement that they have to leave a review, but apparently it isn't. But I did get my 8 reviews in within like the first month, I think. The first one came in like right away, then there was a gap, and then they kind of came in together, and then there's another gap, and then some more came in at the end. But then I've launched another product where it just took forever to come in. So like it's just totally different in each scenario that I've experienced. But at least me personally, I guess if I averaged it all out, you should get most of your reviews within the first month or two, but they'll all trickle in differently. It's almost like, I don't know if you've noticed this yourself, but if you leave a review on a product, it doesn't get published on Amazon right away. It goes into like a waiting queue or something where I'm sure it's just getting reviewed by something or somebody, and then eventually gets in. So some of that waiting time might just be the algorithm trying to like accept the review or review it first. So hopefully that answers your question, but a great program to get into, especially when you're launching a new product. Let's see here. Question, like when do you know when to give up on a product that is consistently underperforming in sales for private label? I don't know an exact timeline for it. If you're past, I wouldn't make any huge decisions in the first couple months, even sometimes in the first year. If you're going into year 2 and it's just like there's no sales coming along for you, I'd first just like make sure you're doing everything you can to get sales. Just by having your product exist on Amazon is not a good way of getting sales. You will need to drive sales yourself through advertising or through organic marketing off of Amazon. And so if you are doing everything you can, you're using Amazon ads, you're being consistent with those ads, you're also maybe driving organic traffic, which you don't need to do. It's just a nice to have if you have the time. But if you're doing everything you can do and you're not getting any sales, after the first year, you can maybe make a decision and say, okay, I learned a lot, I grew a lot, but maybe let's take my inventory, or let's take the funds that I receive from selling out my inventory and launch a new product. So after you kind of like liquidate or just get rid of your product, your inventory, and you kind of recoup some money, take that and launch the next product. You might even be at a little bit of a loss, but trust me, as much as it hurts, it's going to be way better for you in the long run, because now you're actually going to be selling a product, hopefully, that is much better than that last product. But I wouldn't make those decisions in the first couple months or even the first year. I would more so make those decisions after your first year or 2 even, and making sure that you've done everything you can to drive traffic to Amazon first. So, yeah. But don't be afraid to kind of bite the bullet, take the ego hit. It trust me, it's hard. I've seen it done before. I've done it myself, but I've also been with many of brands have had to like get rid of a product. And it's the hardest thing, saying like you're wrong or like it's just not working, and it sucks. But don't make that decision right away. Just give it some time and make sure you're doing everything you can first. Cool. I'll answer a few more questions here. Cool. Do we need any certifications to import products from Alibaba to the US? That really depends on the product you're looking to sell. So there are certain product categories like products for babies, products for sometimes like dogs, like grocery, supplements, or beauty even, that do require certifications on that product, whether it's an inspection certification that your product was inspected for quality standards, or maybe it's like a hazardous material is in your product, like a battery. There are certain requirements for certain products. So you just need to do a quick Google search for your product and then certifications for Amazon. Typically what Amazon's doing is they're mirroring the rest of like the market or rest of like the country. So Amazon doesn't usually have their own certifications. It's usually just mirroring the country's standards. But if you look up, beauty products certifications for Amazon, then you should find a list of the exact certifications that you'll need to sell that product. But that would be my best way of answering that question, is being very specific in your Google search of what you're looking to sell and if there's any certifications for it. Definitely dependent on the category as well. Yeah, so this is always a fun thing to realize, but like, does Amazon purchase and retain its own inventory when an item is sold by Amazon? So whenever you see these listings that say sold by Amazon, typically what's happening is that brand, which is Lux Bidet, they are actually selling their inventory to Amazon. And so Lux Bidet is basically a first party brand or seller. So they are selling inventory to Amazon, and Amazon's selling that product. So, that brand is still managing the listing and they're still doing a lot of work. But they are really just selling their inventory to Amazon. So, it's almost like it's really, really hard to get into that. Like, Amazon's got to reach out to you, and it's usually only for the biggest brands. But that is a funny realization of how that works, is when it says sold by Amazon, you're actually buying it from Amazon, which is really just buying it from this brand over here. Good question. I wonder how many consumers are aware of that, because I know certainly a lot of people just think they're always buying from Amazon, but they're actually buying from a brand who's selling on Amazon most of the time. Yeah, so you're looking for products and you're struggling finding them for Amazon India. How can we help you there? So the best kind of advice I can give you is to look through the market, the data in India. So if I pull up my screen here, if you're using Jungle Scout, let's go into product database tool. You can switch from the United States to India, and you can use filters to try to find the best product to sell on Amazon. So what I would do though is take this our training and apply it to your marketplace. If you want more advice on what is our training, head over to our YouTube channel. You can watch our big how to sell on Amazon video, which is right here, and this is updated each year, so it's our most relevant content. We also have a whole playlist of how to find products to sell on Amazon. So if you click into here, you'll see a bunch of awesome content for you that you can spend hours or days on getting through, and pick out little nuggets from each one, test it out on your own. Really play with your filters, but I would maybe dive into some free education here on our YouTube channel, and then apply that in Jungle Scout by using your India marketplace data specifically. Good question. Okay, let's see here. Let's see here. I found a product to launch on Amazon US. It's my first product. Some accessories. So you're trying to make a premium product, okay? And then you also, yeah. Do you think you can sell to a customer $80 to $85? So I assume you're talking about your product price. Could you sell a product to customers for $80 to $85? You absolutely can. In my opinion, it's harder because that's like getting into the territory where people are really thinking about their purchase, and they're now asking the question of who is this brand, or how good is this product? So they're going to read reviews. They're just going to slow down that that quick decision making that a lot of sellers or buyers have when they buy like a $20 or $30 product, right? So if I'm buying just like a $30 product, I'm gonna probably look at some reviews, but I'm not gonna be as thorough as I would with like a $100 product. So you definitely can sell in that price range. Don't be scared to sell even more than that, but just understand that it's gonna maybe take you some time, more time in the beginning when you're first getting your first sales or reviews to make those sales. But you absolutely could. Don't be limited or feel limited based on like what we typically teach, which is, I think we say like $30 to like $70 or $75, but we only say that as a starting point for new sellers because we're eliminating some of the friction that happens when you sell above that price range and below that price range. But they're by no means just like like kind of like standards, like, or things that you have to do. It's more so just setting yourself up for success with those perimeters in mind, or those parameters in mind. But feel free to expand on it. You could, we say all the time when you're in product research tools, like, we'll say at $25 or $30 to $75, we'll say 300 units sold, and we'll kind of do some things here. But you feel free to do whatever you want. Like maybe you want to go, okay, 300 is way too low. I want to see 900. I don't want to sell a product under $50, and I'm willing to go to $150. So like that's great. Definitely experiment with your filters, and you can even use some of these pre-submitted filters up here as well. But okay, guys, that is going to wrap up our live questions for this week. But if you want to get your questions answered, maybe I missed them, or maybe you have more questions after this ends, go ahead and submit a comment below once this video ends, and we'll take those questions and bring them over to next week's video before getting into the live questions. But I hopefully you guys learned something new today and you enjoyed this video. Again, if so, let us know by hitting the like button down below, and make sure to join us next week in our upcoming live Q&A session on Thursday at the same time, 11 o'clock. Make sure you're subscribed. You can turn on those post notifications to get reminded of when we do go live. And hopefully we see you guys in the next stream. Until then, have a great day and happy selling.